Hey everyone, and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us as always is John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you from right here at the Collider Video Studios here in Burbank, California, and we are so glad you decided to make us part of your day.
Also here, Kristian Harloff.
John, you're welcome for Ellis and I not burning down the studio yesterday.
I was kind of worried about that.
It almost happened.
Also here's Mark Ellis.
I was going to ask Kristian, who's the new guy? Welcome to the big leagues, guy.
I got called up.
You're
last
out
minute.
of touch.
Inside joke. Hey, listen, before we get started, I want to let you know about a little something here. You a fan of technology? I know I am. Right now, over on Collider.com, we're doing a giveaway right now of the brand new model that they just released, a new MacBook they're giving away. Wow. How can you get your hands on this? I'm glad that you asked, but I'm not going to tell you. Right in the description of this video, though, there is a link to the giveaway page on Collider.com where one lucky person will be walking away with a MacBook. Check that link in the description. Go on over to Collider and find out how you can get your grubby little hands on that new piece of technology. Speaking of technology, as happens sometimes, a rather significant piece of news broke right before we went on air, and that is simply this. Marvel has announced a sequel to Ant-Man. The name of the movie will be Ant-Man and the Wasp. So I don't know if maybe there's going to be another character involved in this movie or not. But Ant-Man and the Wasp, Marvel has announced, will be coming out on July 6th, 2018. Now, to accommodate this sudden appearance of this movie that was not planned before, they've moved a couple of other films around. First, starting with Black Panther. Black Panther, which was originally going to be released on November 3rd, 2017, has now been pushed back just a couple of months to February 16th, 2018. And Captain Marvel, which was originally going to be released on July 6th, 2018, has been pushed back about 8 or 9 months to March 8th, 2019. So that's the news. Ant-Man 2 is coming, and it's going to be called Ant-Man and the Wasp. Kristian, you heard this news 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on this?
I think it makes sense, and I also think this is something we originally talked about when the slate was announced, that when you have certain properties, you don't exactly know what they're going to do, how they're going to perform. So when you have something like Ant-Man, which performed really well for the budget, it was the silliest thing when people were like, oh, it bombed because it made a smaller amount than the Avengers. Yeah, it performed the way that it should and better. So it makes sense that they would do it. And I thought the post-credit scenes in Ant-Man were some of the best, and one of those being the Wasp. And to put her in there and to further develop her story, I think would be great. As far as pushing the movies back, I think it makes sense for Black Panther because it hits in February. It's Black History Month as well too. I think that when you have and for who they're looking. I know they would look at one point Ava DuVernay and F. Gary Gray and these really strong, great black directors as well too. I think for this movie, and you're going to have really like the first strong lead black superhero. I mean, Blade, I think too. But so I think that it makes sense to put it there. As far as Captain Marvel, they don't even know who Captain Marvel is yet, or they do. They haven't told us.
I think you just nailed it.
I think they haven't told us, but I think the script they're developing a little more, so it makes sense. Push that back. I think they'll introduce her in another movie though once they cast her. I think that's the same way they're doing that with Black Panther and Civil War. So it's strategic. It makes sense.
Mark?
Well, that's the thing that you hit on, is that now they just have another movie that they know is going to be a hit to set up these superheroes that they don't know are going to be hits yet. So maybe Black Panther can pop into Ant-Man and the Wasp, or maybe there can be a Captain Marvel reference. We don't know if Ant-Man and Black Panther are going to have any interaction in Civil War. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but it just gives them a little more leeway to set up these stories that they're going to be telling. As far as Ant-Man goes, I can't wait to see a sequel. I'm not crazy on the name, boys. Ant-Man and the Wasp. Just not a huge fan of that name. Generally, superhero movies with "and" in the title don't work as well as you want. Batman and Robin, no thanks. So
yeah.
I'm not huge on that name yet. I'm sure it'll grow on me, and I have some time for it to grow on me, but I think it's the right move for Marvel. It's a smart strategic play. Ant-Man was a hit. It didn't make as much opening weekend as maybe some of the other ones did, but it had staying power, and I think the second one will as well.
Yeah, you mentioned it had staying power, and the fact of the matter is, I believe Ant-Man made more as its first introductory film than the first Captain America film did, and then Thor did. And Ant-Man still hasn't even opened in China yet. So its worldwide total hasn't even really been set. I think it opens in China like next week for the first time. So if you ever complain that some country is getting a movie 3 days before you, time for us all to stop complaining. I love this news. I was so, look, let's admit it. We didn't know what we were going to get with this Ant-Man. With all of the drama, especially with all the Edgar Wright stuff, with who's going to play it, and then a rotating line of who was going to be the director after that, landing on a name that a lot of people scratched their heads with initially in Peyton Reed. We just didn't really know. I think we had a lot of hope. I'm a big fan of Paul Rudd, so I was really glad he was there. Seeing Michael Douglas get attached was great too. But I wasn't expecting to thoroughly enjoy the film as much as I did. I walked out of that theater so freaking entertained. And I think as a 1-2 punch, I don't think any Marvel film has had a better 1-2 punch as far as their post-credit scenes than Ant-Man. Now, I'm not saying Ant-Man had the single best post-credit scene, but as far as a 2 post-credit scene combination, I've never seen a movie do it better. I am totally with you. Hate the title.
It's actually, since I said that I didn't like it 5 seconds ago, I hate it even more now. I might come out of this. I hope I do. It sounds like a poem you read to kids. Like, do you know the story of Ant-Man and the Wasp?
I'm on the other side. I love the title.
Really?
Because for what the movie is and the way that it's goofy. The movie's goofy in a good way. You can almost see Paul Rudd going, "What should we call ourselves? Ant-Man and the Wasp," and then he's like, maybe it's silly, but we got to go with it. It's just that's the way that this movie embraces itself. I think it's deliberate, and I think that's the point. It throws back to like the '60s. That's how the comics, you would see a comic that was Ant-Man and the Wasp, and they even embraced it in the first Ant-Man. It was like, do we have to keep the name? Like, I think that's deliberate. And I love it, actually. I think it works well.
But if they keep making Ant-Man movies, I don't want them to keep making fun of the name. Like, it was a funny joke when it came out, and it just feels a little played out now. Plus, the Wasp is a cool name. I just think the title
cool.
is just...
It's the and the. I'm with Mark. It's the and the part. If
you would like backslash?
No, if you called it, even if you called it Ant-Man Wasp, the magic of friendship. If you called it that, I probably would have liked it more. But whatever. It's just the title. The movie's going to be great. I have full confidence in it, so I'm excited about it. All right, with all that being said, let's move on to the first official topic of the day.
All right, Guardians of the Galaxy was a surprise smash hit with the fans, critics, and the box office. With Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 on the way, we've already learned that all the primary cast are returning, including Yondu, played by Michael Rooker, and Nebula, played by Karen Gillan. And now it seems another supporting character is returning as well. In a spontaneous social media video review that Gamora actress Zoe Saldana posted about the movie Sicario, Saldana praised actor Benicio del Toro's performance and ended the video with, "I'll see you on Guardians." John, can we assume at this point that Benicio del Toro will be returning for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2?
Now, while I do not believe that a spontaneous selfie video with your husband, who was, I mentioned this, good on you, Zoe. Wow, she's got a husband almost better looking than her. But with your husband in the foyer of a movie theater that's like a minute long, speaking in some Russian dialect, I believe they were talking. That is hardly official status news. However, when the star of the movie is talking to one of her former stars in the original film and says, "Hey, I'll see you on Guardians," that's as pretty much of a slam dunk as you can get. I mean, I'm not going to call that officially confirmed at this point, but that's as close to officially confirmed as you can get, because I believe she would know. So I will go and look. I believe the way they left the Collector, there was more you can do with him. Like, his presence in the galaxy, look, he's not just some creepy guy. How did he go about getting all those guys, that collection in his thing? It ain't because he's a nice, smooth talker, even though he comes across as that. I loved the interaction between him and Rocket, actually, when they had that scene. I thought that was really good. And after seeing him in Sicario, I could watch Benicio del Toro doing anything. And so I believe it's good for the film to have him come back, because he's so ambiguous. He could play almost any kind of a role that you want, villain or hero, depending on what serves his interest best. And just bringing a talent like him back, Yeah, man, I'm all for it. So I'm going to say, yeah, I believe this is happening, Mark.
Finally, my trolling of Zoe Saldana's Instagram page has paid off in spades. This is great news. I do believe it. And one of my very few complaints of the original Guardians of the Galaxy was that I didn't get enough of the Collector. Like, I was looking forward to seeing this guy on screen, and he just got a little bit of him. So hopefully he does have a bigger role. Hopefully he doesn't just pop in for one scene again. I want to see more with the Collector. And I think that it's so hard to see somebody make this confirmation, and it's like, oh, well, this actress said it and that she's going to see him. We don't even know if she's informed as to anybody else who's going to be in the movie.
That's true.
She's assuming that Benicio del Toro is going to be there. So I'm not going to buy my tickets based on the fact that del Toro's in it or not in it. I'm going to love Guardians of the Galaxy 2 regardless. I'm sure him being in it would be a huge credit to the film, so I hope it's true.
Kristian.
I think it's a lock that he's in it.
I thought you were about to say lie.
No, I think it's a lock, and I think she does, I think she does know that he's in it, and I think it makes sense also because Disney's high on this guy right now. He's in episode 8. He's he's in this. He was in this to return. We're not saying he's going to have a huge role, but it would make sense if they need to talk to the Collector again, or he has more information, or Thanos is going to talk to him. Who knows? But he's part of this, like you say, he's part of the galaxy. He's part of the storytelling at this point, and I think that he still serves a purpose. And if you can utilize Benicio del Toro, utilize him. And if they don't just sign these people to one deal, to one movie.
Oh no, never.
He's signed on for more. So if we're looking over, if we're putting together the script, and I'm James Gunn, and I go, I have Benicio del Toro. Yeah, I think I'm going to use him for a scene. I have him. Why not use him? Otherwise someone else gets him down the line, and it makes sense. He's coming back.
And I almost look at the Collector role in Guardians of the Galaxy like the hotel in John Wick, where we might only be there for a scene, but it's got so much mystery behind it. Maybe at some point it does get its standalone film, which it would warrant. But even if it is just there for one scene, it might be the best scene in the movie because it's Del Toro.
All right, what's next?
The Hollywood Reporter recently ran a rare and exclusive interview with comedy icon Rick Moranis, discussing his absence from Hollywood in recent years and focusing on his decision to turn down a cameo role in the new Ghostbusters film. The star of such films as Ghostbusters, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Little Shop of Horrors, and Spaceballs, partially retired for a time in 1997 after his wife Anne died from breast cancer to focus on raising his 2 young children. The article says he's not actually retired, just very, very picky. When asked about the new Ghostbusters, Moranis said the following: "I wish them well," says the 62-year-old comedic legend, who's so stunned by the outcry over his absence in the film that he decided to grant a rare interview with THR. "I hope it's terrific, but it just makes no sense to me. Why would I do just one day of shooting on something I did 30 years ago?" Kristian, are you okay with Moranis turning down a cameo in Ghostbusters, and do you think we'll see him back again?
For my selfish reasons, no, I'm not okay with it. But for his reasons, of course I am. I was talking to you, John, about this beforehand. I wasn't aware of his story with his wife that had happened in '97, and just speaking as a father of a 4-year-old now, like my daughter's my first priority. The fact that he gave up a really good career and said, and he says he's not retired all the way, but back in '97 to make sure that he was the one who raised his kids. I mean, how do you not respect that? The fact that that's what he wanted to do. He could have hired someone else to raise his kids and still worked, but he decided not to. So that alone is admirable. As far as him not coming back to do Ghostbusters, if he doesn't want to do, if he didn't have that, passion for it, and he didn't want to do the cameo, then he shouldn't. He wished him well. He was respectful, and it's not like Dennis Lawson,
totally different situation.
Dennis Lawson Wedge is basically turns his nose up at. It's like, I'm too good for that, and Moranis is like, no, it's just not something I want to do, and good luck to you guys, and I hope it does well.
Yeah, and the thing about Moranis too is that he was a name. Rick Moranis' name was already a known name before he ever did Ghostbusters, separating that from the Lawson situation. Yeah, the whole thing, every once in a while you come across one of these situations where you're just disgusted with yourself that you didn't know something. Because I don't know how many conversations I've had, both with you guys and other people on our staff and just friends over the years. It's like, man, why did Rick Moranis stop doing stuff? And then you find out, his wife died 18 years ago, and you just want to slam your face in the wall. It's like, how was I so stupid that I didn't realize that? But
give yourself credit though. He even said it. Rare interview. He doesn't give out interviews.
No, he kept very private about. He doesn't even mention the names of his kids.
Yeah,
he won't say the names of his kids. So he's very private in many ways too. In that rundown, we didn't list maybe perhaps his greatest feat ever, which is Strange Brew that he did with Dave Thompson. I mean, his stuff on SCTV was so great. But finding all this out has, if it was possible, elevated my respect for this guy. Because you're right, he was on a roll. I mean, he was that guy. He was a guy that you could use in so many different projects, and he walked away from it all, I'm sure partially because of pain, and then he wanted to focus on his kids. Unbelievable. And while I would love to see him back as Dark Helmet again, while I would love to see him pop up in Ghostbusters, this actually makes more sense to me now, him not doing Ghostbusters, because it's like, if you've walked away for that long, and you're thinking now, maybe it's time, 62, maybe it's time, I've still got a lot of good years in me, maybe I can come back to this. Do you want your first thing to be a one-shot cameo in a movie, or do you want it to be something a little more substantive? And I think maybe that's part of Siggy too. I'm just speculating, of course, but it's a great read. If you haven't already, jump over to the Hollywood Reporter and read the article, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Anyway, Mark, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I love the interview. I love Rick Moranis. He's a comedic legend. There's no other way to say it. Is going as far back as his SCTV days, and then getting into films and all these iconic characters that sometimes he is a little overlooked when you're talking about the great comedic geniuses of the last 30 years, but he's definitely one of them. I mean, Spaceballs is a hilarious movie. He's the funniest part of Spaceballs.
Oh, yeah.
Of a comedy classic, he's the funniest part. And Ghostbusters, every scene he's in, he steals as Louis Tully, the weird neighbor who lives down the way from Dana. And when he's exercising and he's telling her about this high-speed workout, he's like, oh, I play it back double speed so I get twice the workout in half the time. It's just so, everything he does in those movies is hysterical. I'm not totally selling the fact that you're not going to see him in like a little cameo. Maybe he's pulling the wool over our eyes and he is going to pop up there, because every theater would erupt when you see Rick Moranis just for one quick scene in Ghostbusters. Probably not going to happen. I just want to see him back on the big screen in some capacity, in any role, sometime soon, because we miss Rick Moranis. We really do. Please come back to it.
I got 2 words for you. Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
He is the one, because they're talking about Spaceballs 2. It's been out there for a while. If there's one person that could get Rick Moranis back, and like he said, a smaller role, that didn't make sense. If Dark Helmet comes back,
oh my god!
I mean, it's possible.
Well, and you can reboot Ghostbusters and you can do without cameos from the original cast. You can't do The Search for More Money unless Rick Moranis is playing
Dark Helmet. You just can't. And I'll say this. I say this all the time. Rick Moranis is the guy who holds my #1 spot on my all-time list of funniest single lines in movie history. And to me, and I can't do it justice, it's because of the way he says it. It's in Spaceballs when he says to Lone Star, "Now, Lone Star, you will see that evil will always triumph because good is dumb." That I have never laughed harder at one single line in a movie in my life than that. But there's another line in that movie that nobody else likes. Nobody else even pays attention to. For a reason, it kills me. It's when he's playing with the dolls of himself and the princess, and he says, Druish princess. Everybody knows that Druish princesses are attracted to money and power, and I have both, and you know it. It's just the way he says.
No, sir, I didn't see you playing with your dolls again.
Just the way Moranis delivers that line, it just brings joy. Okay, anyway. We've reached that part of the show now, folks, for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Ashley's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down, and those at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ashley, what do we got?
As most of you know, the first standalone Wonder Woman movie is currently scheduled to hit theaters on June 23rd, 2017, but little has been known about the story of the film up to this point. However, we may now know when the story will be taking place. The site Den of Geek now claims to have a source inside the production of the film who says that the movie will take place in 3 different time periods. The article says the following. The first setting will be Themyscira, the idyllic island Wonder Woman has called home since her adventures began in the 1940s. The second period is World War I. The specific year we've been given is 1916, which places it right in the middle of that conflict. The movie will then move to the modern day, where it will tie into the events of Justice League Part 1. Mark, do you buy or sell the validity of this report?
I buy it. Sounds great. This sounds like it makes sense because, like, look at Superman. Look at Man of Steel, where it starts out where he's from. You start on his home, and then he slowly gets to Earth, and then you have your events in modern day. Now, this throws another wrinkle into it in that she's going to be starting out on Earth in one part, and then we go to World War I, then we go to modern day. So it's going to be a lot of moving parts. Sounds like the movie might be over 2 hours if this is the way it comes out. But yeah, I actually do buy this report. I think that this makes sense for the way they're going to tell the story.
Yeah, I actually buy the report, and the reason I buy it is not because I think it sounds good or bad, but it sounds pretty consistent with what we've heard so far. You know, we've been hearing a lot of things that well, first of all, because of the character of Wonder Woman herself, but we've been hearing rumblings and rumors all throughout this pre-production stage that we are going to be seeing her in a lot of different types of outfits in different time periods. The idea of setting it up in a 3-act structure with Act 1 happening further back in the past, Act 2 happening in World War I, and then Act 3 bringing us up to modern day, it seems to make sense and is consistent. So while this certainly isn't confirmation of any sorts, I do buy this report. What do you think?
Huge buy, actually, because again, going back from rumors about how old she is and the other thing is, I think that DC is taking a page out of Marvel's book and looking at what they did with Captain America. I think that you go back and you tell the story of when Captain America was announced, it was going to be hard to just introduce him in the modern day era.
Oh, you couldn't.
You couldn't.
You couldn't.
I think it's the same thing with Wonder Woman, and I think because of where she comes from, like you were saying, John, her history, what it was in the character in the comics, and it's an epic film too, and what she stood for, and where she has to go through time. I mean, because this project, remember, Wonder Woman has gone through so many stages. Like at one point when Joss Whedon was on it back in the day, his script was in the modern era and it didn't really work. And then when Strickland and Jennison came on to write theirs was actually in this era, and I thought it was brilliant. But Joel Silver didn't go down that route. So I think that going back here, this is the smart way to go. So I absolutely buy this report.
See, but that's why, like, when I saw the Batman v Superman trailer, the newer one, that's the one thing that kind of took me out of the trailer a little bit, was seeing the Wonder Woman footage. Not because I didn't think it looked good, but because it didn't feel like it fit in there. And so you're going to put her in the modern day setting first. That's how we're going to meet Wonder Woman. Yeah. Then we're going to go back to her home, wherever she's from, and where's she from? Where's that weird island that she's from? So then we're going to go to World War I era. Then we're going to go back to modern day. They might try something similar to what they're going to do with Bruce Wayne in Batman v Superman, because they're kind of going back to that epic battle at the end of Man of Steel, and then he show it from a different perspective. So when she goes to modern day in her own standalone movie, we might see a different perspective on the closing events of Batman v Superman. And also leads me to think we're not going to see that much Wonder Woman at all.
That's what I was going to say. I think you're right, because I think that the thing with Cap is that was a full movie, and the first time you see her in Batman v Superman, she's still you'll see her in a couple scenes, but she's still going to be kind of shrouded in mystery. And when it's true. Like,
it might be Batman punching Superman, and then she shows up, and they both look at each other like, "What the hell?"
But there's something, like, even when he's dancing with her in the trailer, it's like there's going to be something about who is this? What is she about? And I think that's what they're asking the audience to feel as well too. So we want to know more about her. So she's a big presence in the movie, like for the scenes that she's in. But you're like, well, who is that? What is it about her? Where does she come from? Well, we're going to tell you in 2017. Whatever. So that's pretty much.
Little head pops up in the corner.
Right. Yeah. It's Daffy Duck.
In case you're wondering. All right, what's next?
With Ridley Scott basking in the success of his newest film, The Martian, he recently took time out to talk about his next film, Alien: Paradise Lost, which is a sequel to Prometheus. In the interview, Scott revealed that a new group of characters will be joining Noomi Rapace and David Michael Fassbender when he said the following: "It's going to be its own separate thing because they're going to the planet of the engineers and they are going to see what happened there. It was a disaster, and they will be in that alien craft that takes them there, but with a new group that's incoming, a new group of travelers in the beginning of the first act." John Byer sells Scott's comments.
I buy it, and the reason I buy it, even though I am not excited about this film because I did not like the original, but I do buy this because it makes sense on a couple levels. Number one, new travelers. Okay, could this be another mission from Earth going there? Possibly. Or could it be another alien species that we have contact with? Now, nowhere else in the Alien series of films are we ever introduced to other species, but other than the aliens themselves. But this could be a really neat way to open the door for that if they wanted to. Now, it would then make it a little bit inconsistent later on because Earth has never had contact with other species, but who knows? It opens the door for a lot of possibilities. But the other reason I buy this is because of a simple, age-old, tried, tested, and true thing you need in these types of movies. You need cannon fodder. You need people in these movies that something horrible can kill. And since you only have two key characters here, Not a lot of killing to be done. Let's bring along a new group of travelers that can be picked off by either the engineers or the aliens or whatever third-party species they come up with. You got to have cannon fodder. So for several reasons, I buy the report. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I buy the report. I wonder if they're going to run into John Carter from Mars. I just noticed your hoodie. That's a timely hoodie you got there. I buy this. I think it's exciting going to the planet of the engineers. And you're right. The fact that we're going to get a new group of travelers, like, it's probably not going to bode well for them because we already have these famous people that we're rooting for from the previous movie.
They're going to be all red shirts from Star Trek. They're all going to be showing up.
They should just have like shoulder pads with no logo on it because they are the practice squad. You guys are it's what we're going to prove the might of the engineers and what's on their home planet because they're going to consume you, and then hopefully we get a couple of survivors to fight the xenomorphs in the next Alien movie. I'm looking forward to this movie. I like the first Prometheus a lot, so I want to see more in this world.
Yeah, I buy the comments for sure, and I think you're absolutely right. They have to bring in some more characters because tasty treats.
Tasty treats.
Yeah, who's to do tasty treats? But I also hope there's a lot of things that I hope for. One is because Ridley Scott has, for the first time in a while, made a great movie with The Martian.
Yes, he did.
And now this is his next one, and we are a town, like we've mentioned many times in the show, what have you done for me lately? He's just done something great for us. So now we're going to go in with expectations like, oh, okay, he made a great movie, he can do it again, and this time with a property that we know that he is really that he loves and that he's passionate about. I didn't love Prometheus. I thought it looked great, but some people
visually beautiful,
great.
Yeah,
every movie he does is visually stunning. So we know that he's got that taken care of. So with this, what I hope is that I thought it was a bit disappointing that it didn't connect into the franchise enough.
I agree.
I think that this movie will do that. I hope that it will do that because I would like to, even whatever we say about Neil, as Shanice says, Blomkamp, whatever we're saying about him right now, he is the guy who's directing that next movie, the one that furthers the story. So I would like
if Scott ever lets it happen.
Right. But if it does, let's say that it does, I would hope that Scott would do a movie here that's going to help further the franchise that he gave birth to by giving Blomkamp some more to work with.
Let me throw you guys this too, though, really quick, to save everybody out there watching some Google searching. So Blomkamp's version is definitely happening, and is there a definite release date, or is it going to tie into the release date of Alien Paradise Lost?
It's all confusing right now.
It's I wish that they would just give us a timeline. They just kind of show us when that's coming out versus when the Alien one is, because as somebody who really enjoys the lore, I just want to know what we're setting ourselves up for cinematically, if they're all going to tie in together, or if Ridley Scott's vision is going to go like this, and then they bring in Blomkamp just to show us what xenomorphs look like.
Well, if I understand it right, the original plan was that the Neil Blomkamp Alien film was going to come before Prometheus 2. Mm-hmm. And then we found out in a story that Ridley Scott insisted that his movie come out first. So that pushed off Neil's film. But as far as I know, and please correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, as far as I know, there is no set release date. Right. So, I mean, something doesn't smell right about that whole relationship.
Yeah, it's called Chappie.
It just smells like Chappie.
It's a great point. It's a great point. I mean, if Chappie was great and everybody's praising Blomkamp just like they were,
they announced that too soon. They announced it way too soon. They announced it before Chappie came out.
I still think he might be the right guy to take the torch from Ridley Scott and make more cool Alien movies. But let's just get excited about Alien Paradise Lost now.
All right, what's next?
With Star Wars Episode 7 now just 2 months away, some attention is now being turned to news about Star Wars Episode 8. According to our own Collider.com, a new cast member has been added to the production in the form of actress Gugu Mbatha-Raw. The actress has appeared in films such as Jupiter Ascending and Beyond the Lights, and will soon be starring in the new Will Smith film Concussion and the upcoming live-action Beauty and the Beast. Nothing is currently known about the character she'll be playing. Christian Harloff the addition of Gugu Mbatha-Raw to Star Wars Episode 8.
Huge buy. She's electric, man. Like anything she's in, even Beyond the Lights, it's funny because when I initially saw it, the movie itself, I didn't give the greatest review, and I actually saw it again and found myself liking it a lot more. But both times I saw it, she's amazing in it. She, even in that fart box Jupiter Ascending, she is still, you remember her, and you just see this in Hollywood. You see this in the casting process when people shine. you hear more and more about them and in the roles that they're being cast, and the fact that she's going to be in Concussion, and she's been rumored for this for a while. And it's funny too, because we're going to talk to author Claudia Gray a little later today, but in speaking with her when she wrote Lost Stars, she actually envisioned
the Star Wars novel, for those who don't know.
Star Wars Lost Stars, a novel, and she pictured her as she was writing it for inspiration because of how inspiring of an actress she is. So I think this goes back to another conversation we've had on the show many times, is that the Star Wars movies and the Marvel movies and all the DC movies, they're all going after talent, not just stars.
Not fame. They're going after
because a lot of people are going to see this name and go, "Well, who's that?" You'll know.
Was that the villain in Thundercats?
Right.
No,
you're gonna know immediately who she is, and you're gonna once she starts getting these roles, she'll blow you away. And I'm so glad that we're in this era now, that this is what's happening. Because back 10 years ago, it was all about they sell tickets, and that's still part of it, but it's more of who's going to further the role. It's the property that's selling. It's the directors that are selling, and I think that's better for us as fans.
Yeah, she was very good in Beyond the Lights. However, my exposure to her is limited to that. I'm super excited to see because I've been I made no secret about it, I've been eating up these trailers to Concussion. I think that looks great, and seeing that she's like one of the leads in that, I'm so interested to see her in that. And also she landed a role in one of the most impressive casts in a long time, the new live action Beauty and the Beast as well.
Right.
So I can't enthusiastically buy this because I'm not exposed to a lot of her work, but I completely echo what Kristian's saying. When you've got filmmakers deciding we're not going after names, doesn't matter if people recognize these names, we're going after people who we know are talents, who have a background, and just look in her background and you see what she's got. So I can't be over enthusiastic about it yet. Talk to me again after Concussion. Right now, I got to give it a buy.
Well, I mean, I've seen The Force Awakens, and it's great. So looking forward to Episode 8 now. Yeah, but this is something that Star Wars has always done, to be fair to Star Wars, even the prequels. Like, they went after talent. They weren't going after big names. They went after people who could pull off a great screen presence. We had heard of Liam Neeson and Natalie Portman and Ewan McGregor, but they weren't like the monster stars that they thought that they would fit into a role, and I'm sure that's what they're doing with this in Episode 8. And we've seen for a while, there's this rumor going around that Episode 8 is looking for another young, strong female role to cast. Now, whether she is the one that role is talking about, but she's going to figure prominently into this lore. And so now it's just like, if it's possible to make me even more excited to see The Force Awakens, it's like, now I really want to get the landscape of this new world in a galaxy far, far away so I can see where another character might fit in there in the next movie. I mean, all this does is whet my appetite even more for the movie before this one.
All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show now to talk about our little Thursday segment, What's Opening This Week, brought to you by our friends at AMC Theatres, where we talk about the films that are opening this weekend that you can go and check out. So, Ashley, what is opening this weekend?
Well, the big film opening this week, of course, is the new Peter Pan film, Pan. Living a bleak existence at a London orphanage, 12-year-old Peter, played by Levi Miller, finds himself whisked away to the fantastical world of Neverland. Adventure awaits as he meets his new friend, James Hook, and the warrior Tiger Lily. They must band together to save Neverland from the ruthless pirate Blackbeard, played by Hugh Jackman. Along the way, the rebellious and mischievous boy discovers his true destiny, becoming the hero forever known as Peter Pan. Mark, should people be looking forward to Pan?
I mean, I don't think so. I've never been high on this movie. And then you start thinking about it, maybe I've just never been that high on Peter Pan in general. I don't like Hook. I'm not a fan of Hook. I thought that movie was overrated. It came out, and it really bummed me out as a kid. Maybe this is almost like a Fantasia level thing with me, where anything Peter Pan, I just don't care about at all. And they were pushing this movie Pan. It was supposed to come out in the summer. It got delayed, but it seemed like a good landing place for families to go check it out in October. I saw a lot of footage at Comic-Con that a lot of people didn't see, and it looked like a big spectacle, but nothing I actually cared about investing in. Hugh Jackman, I'm sure he's great as Blackbeard. Garrett Hedlund, I'm concerned about Levi Miller. I'm sure they plucked this kid out of obscurity. I'm sure he's going to be good in it, but I haven't seen the movie yet. We had a screening on Sunday. I might have slept through it, might have watched football instead. I don't care about seeing Pan.
Unlike you, I love Hook. There's something about that movie that's just magic to me. I love that film. And I love Hugh Jackman. I have loved the trailers. Granted, it holds a 30% right now on Rotten Tomatoes, which does not bode well. I also did not go to the screening. But all that being said, personally, I am still looking forward to this movie. I may have a totally different tune when I walk out of it, but everything I've seen so far, I like the casting. I'm a big fan of the Peter Pan lore. This looks like a really interesting take on it. So I have not seen it, but I am looking forward to it. Somebody on my right has seen it and is giggling at me right now. Kristian.
Well, unlike you two, I'm a professional, so I did go to the screening. And also, to break the difference, I will say this. I also love Hook, you soulless creature. But
I'll watch it again. I'll watch it again.
Listen, so this movie, I went and I was unlike Mark. I was actually really excited for this film. I thought like you, like that the idea of a prequel to Pan. I've always been a Peter Pan fan, to see how and maybe it would tie into Hook, or maybe, because I loved that story of what happened later on in life and how he became an adult and had to go back. But so what happened? How did he originally get to Neverland? And this movie has no idea who it's gearing itself to. It doesn't know who its audience is. It has no idea, because there's some parts that kids will be too scared, and there's other parts where adults are just going to think it's so dopey. They literally, Hugh Jackman as Blackbeard starts belting out "Smells Like Teen Spirit" in the middle of in the start of the movie.
That sounds like a selling point to me.
And then starts Blitzkrieg Bop, and then it tries to do a Baz Luhrmann thing, and then it just disappears. Garrett Hedlund, God knows what he's doing. I don't know, Peter. Maybe one day I'll go and be on Collider Movie Talk. It's like, what are you doing? And it's not his fault. It's Joe Wright's fault. The director was not the guy for this movie. He took a great idea. I thought the script was okay for what it was supposed to be. It's a story to where everyone here thought it could be a cool fantasy movie, and I thought it was just Joe Wright totally mishandled this film. Same way he did with Anna Karenina.
Oh, well, see, here's the thing. I always thought that the way he sounds like playing James Hook, it sounded like he was doing his best cross-personation of Carl Urban playing Bones in the Star Trek films and Jack Nicholson playing the Joker.
See, I had Jack.
It sounds like a mix of the two.
I had Jack Nicholson and Daniel Day-Lewis from There Will Be Blood.
Okay.
I'll drink your milkshake.
All right, folks. Well, that's up to you. Do you want to go see Pan? So we got somebody not looking forward to it. We got somebody who's very much looking forward to it. We got somebody who saw it and didn't like it. Now it's up to you. Let us know if you go and check it out this weekend. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. All right, folks, now we've reached that part of the show for Mailbag. Look, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, just email it in to collidervideo@gmail.com. Maybe we'll see if we can get your question on our show. So, Ashley, what's in the mailbag today?
Stephen Hill writes, with Ant-Man's worldwide box office gross standing at $410 million with an opening in China on the way, expectations are pegging the film grossing well over $450 million when all is said and done, ultimately besting both the first Thor and Captain America: The First Avenger. Given its popularity, what do you think are the chances of a sequel, even in the midst of a jam-packed Marvel release schedule?
Slim to none. I mean, it's a good movie. I enjoyed it, but I don't think it has the name power that a lot of the other Marvel properties do. I think maybe they'll look at it, but if you look at Marvel's schedule, it's packed. So I just don't think that there's room for an Ant-Man 2.
It doesn't make sense because you have Black Panther coming out in November. You have Captain Marvel. Oh wait, John, this just in about a half an hour ago. We said that Ant-Man 2 will be coming out.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Breaking news! Breaking news!
That pot really kills your short-term memory, kids. Be careful.
No more honey whiskey.
In all seriousness, that was the mailbag question we had in for today. And then, like 5 minutes before we came on stage, the Ant-Man news dropped. We thought, we'll just leave it.
There was no real inkling that we were going to get that story today.
No, we had
Disney
no
wasn't
idea.
like, hey guys, something's going to drop, and it just happened to be that day. And yeah, I mean, he's right. But Stephen Hill pointed out that, like, look, Ant-Man did do better business overall than the first Thor or Captain America, like you pointed out as well. So it's totally the right move. And again, as echoing my thoughts from 25 minutes ago, I'm pumped for this. The name is...
Yeah, I still don't think it's going to happen. No.
We just confused so many people.
wait, didn't they? Okay, what's the actual mailbag question now that's still legitimate?
Ahmad Raboni writes, my question is, can one actor be nominated for an Academy Award twice in the same category? Jeff Daniels just gave an Oscar-worthy performance in The Martian, in my opinion, as good, if not better than Matt Damon's. And from what I'm hearing about the Steve Jobs biopic, he could get nominated for that too. Is that possible, or does the Academy offset it to make it fair for other potential nominees? Thanks, and keep bringing the filthy.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Jeff Daniels in The Martian because he's getting a little bit overlooked because of just how great the film is in general. Matt Damon's spectacular. Jeff Daniels is spectacular. I mean, this is a dude who just always brings it. I've never seen him phone something in. Whether he's doing comedy or drama or things in between, this dude is just awesome. Like a metronome. He's so reliable. That being said, while an actor can be nominated for 2 different Oscars in a year, like say, we've seen it happen before. Jamie Foxx not too long ago was nominated for Ray and nominated for Best Lead Actor in Ray, which he won, and nominated for Best Supporting Actor in Collateral in the same year. We've seen it happen, I think, somewhere between 12 and 14 times in Oscar history. That has happened. However, and I had to double check with a friend of mine who's really plugged into the Oscar scene, there is a rule that says you cannot be nominated twice in the same category as an actor. Now, I don't know. I thought I remembered some composers getting I could be totally wrong though. I thought I remember some composers getting nominated twice in the same year. But as far as I know, from what I looked up, actors, you cannot be nominated twice for Best Actor in the same movie in the same year in 2 different movies, nor can you be nominated for Best Supporting Actor in the same year for 2 different movies. You can have 2 lead actors in a film, in the same film, nominated for the same Academy Award. You can have Best Supporting Actors from the same film being nominated in the same year. But as far as my understanding goes, an actor cannot be nominated for 2 Oscars in the same category in the same year. Have you guys heard anything different?
No.
See, I thought Steven Seagal got nominated for Marked for Death and Hard for Kill in the same year.
One might have been for lead and one might have been for supporting.
I haven't heard anything differently. When you hear that rule, it sounds dopey, but you got to remember that the way the Academy votes is that they're gonna weigh it a little bit differently. If they saw Jeff Daniels in both of these roles, but he only got nominated for Jobs, which is what I think he will get nominated for. I think they're going to take that over The Martian just slightly. Voters are going to remember they saw him in The Martian. He was great in that too. And
right.
So they're going to factor that in, and it hurts everybody else's chances in that category. But it might be a little fair because Jeff Daniels could have gotten 2 horses in this race instead of just 1. He was fantastic in both, deserves a nomination in both. I think he gets it for Jobs.
And I think if I'm the actor, I don't want to be nominated for 2 films in the same category. You're splitting your votes. So everybody in that committee or that voting body who thinks, yeah, Jeff Daniels deserves Best Supporting Actor, you're not splitting your votes and somebody else can come up. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree with both you guys. I think that it's very possible that I think he'll also be nominated for Jobs. I think he deserves to be nominated for Jobs, although I think he was tremendous in The Martian. But I could see to where, this conversation will come up, he couldn't get nominated for both, and that will register in voters' minds. And they'll go, what, this guy would have been nominated for 2.
Yeah.
And then you start to plan, well, The Martian's not on there, but Jobs is. I'm going to give it to Jeff Daniels. You can see that kind of happening. So I think it actually betters his chances for one particular role. And I think and like you said, I think it makes sense that you can't get nominated in the same category against yourself because it splits the votes and hurts your
chances. Then Meryl Streep would just do 5 movies every year. Every time.
They'll rename it the Meryl Streep category. All right, folks, that'll do it for us for this installment of Collider Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, don't forget, lots of great films playing out at our friends over at AMC Theatres right now. Head on over to www.amctheatres.com for all of your theater, showtime, and of course, your movie ticket information. Hey, don't forget about that little giveaway I told you about at the beginning of the show. Look in the description of this video. You'll find a link to the Collider site talking all about that MacBook giveaway. Find out how you can get yourself in that race as well. I want to thank the people sitting at the table with me. First of all, sitting on my left, Mr. Mark Ellis. Mark, where can people find you online?
You can find me online, hating on Peter Pan, on Twitter and Instagram at 5150 Ellis, and on iTunes you can get my stand-up comedy album, Get to the Castle.
Sitting over on my right, Mr. Kristian Harloff. Kristian, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on Collider Jedi Council. Collider Jedi Council today, it's going to be myself, John, and Mark. We're going to be talking about casting episode 8. We have an interview with the author Claudia Gray that I mentioned, and an interview that I did with Rebels director Dave Filoni, executive producer. So check that out. Hashtag Collider Jedi Council, and follow me at Kristian Harloff on Twitter and Instagram.
I want a movie where we have that Hook talking with Eddie Redmayne's character from Jupiter Ascending. I can just listen to that for 45 minutes straight.
Don't know why you're so aggressive.
Can you please not give him ideas? I have to ride home with this.
And of course, our lovely host today, Miss Ashley Mova. Ashley, where can people find you?
On Twitter and on Instagram at Ashley Mova. Happy Thursday, guys.
And of course, you can find me on the various social media networks on Facebook and on Twitter. Just follow me at John Campea. That'll do it for us, guys. Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time, bye-bye.